guys. We're back for week number 3 of Beard's Bourbon Whiskey. Of course, man, it's your boy Q Lewis holding it down live from the 48205. Got my man Bo in the building.
Shay.
Man, we out here this time. We taking it across the border, all right? We going over to Canada. All right? We got some fine Canadian whiskey. And although I am a fan of Crown Royal, this actual blend I have not had, all right? So this is the Crown Royal XR, all right? So that XR stands for extra rare. Just a little quick backstory. I went to the store and I seen the XO, and a lot of people were already familiar with the XO. I hadn't had it yet, but I wanted to try it. And I remember talking to the guy at the liquor store, and he was telling me how good the XO was, but he said, had you ever had the XR? So I'm like, nah, like I didn't even know it existed. So he showed it to me. It was like way up on the top, and it was real dusty because they can't really sell a lot of them because maybe people don't know about it, or maybe it's just too, out of their range or whatever. So he told me that he's had maybe 3 bottles, and he said he's only ever broken it out for Christmas. Like, so he just made it seem like it was this grand thing. So I'm like, all right, let me get that 5th of Crown Black, and I'm gonna come back. So then a couple weeks later, I ended up coming back out again. I was gonna get the XO, and I was at a different place. And the dude again, like at this liquor store, told me about the XR. So 2 people had got me kind of hip to it, so I got excited. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bring it on the show, and we go try it. So that's where we are today, man. Crown Royal XR. This is going to be our week number 3 thing. Don't forget, if you're just now checking us out, be sure that you do click on the link and subscribe so that you get notified every time we go live, all right? And pretty soon here, we're going to actually start talking about the other B in BBW, which is beards. Maybe not this show, but we're going to definitely get into that. And we'll soon have some actual products for you, though, so be on the lookout for that. All right, so real quick, dog, just to kind of jump into this whole Crown Royal thing. Now, you say you've had some of this before, though.
I've had some. It's been a while. It's been, I was still in the military, I think.
So it's been a while.
Yeah, I remember the exact time I had it. I had just commissioned, became a second lieutenant in the Army and shit.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And we went out and we had a little XR. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, and the thing about it though, with Crown Royal and any of the Canadian whiskeys, I think it's been, other than the Crown Royal Black, I think it's a little bolder. But I think for the most part, a lot of the Canadian whiskey seems to be kind of it's lighter. Like it doesn't seem to be like it doesn't have the same bite that like some Kentucky or Tennessee whiskey might have.
No, and. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, a lot of Canadian whiskey. There is some strong-ass Canadian whiskey out there that I've had before. But Crown makes another version, too. I think it's called Harvest or Fall Harvest or something Harvest.
Okay.
It's pretty good, though. It's pretty good, yeah.
Okay, so we on our Canadian kick today. Yeah. So we will let y'all know what's so exciting about this. And what's cool, though, about having this one on the show is that even though I think you've had something that I haven't had, but I've had other Crown Royal, so I think we'll get to be able to kind of see the difference between this and those other Crown Royals. Even that vanilla that, of course, Bo has no parts of.
No. I could mess with the vanilla a little bit.
Okay.
What I can't mess with is the apple. That shit too sweet.
The apple too sweet?
That shit too sweet. I can't fuck with it.
I feel you on that. Mm-hmm. All right, so yeah, we're going to get into that, man. And hopefully if you've never had Crown Royal before, which if you're a whiskey drinker, I'm pretty sure you probably had at least one of the versions of Crown Royal, so we're going to get into that. And then let you know like why possibly you should jump to the XR as opposed to the other Crown Royals. Because again, 2 separate people, 2 separate experiences, and everybody told me like this is like the elite Crown Royal or something. So we're gonna find that out. But before we get into the for real liquor thing, it's something that we've been having a conversation about off air, and that's kind of what we go touch on today in today's show. So Bo shared with us maybe about a week ago a post that he had seen on social media, and we just started having this whole conversation in our group text. And I decided, this would be a great topic to talk about on the show. So go ahead and share with the people like what that post was.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And this person, I respect the hell out of this person. Intelligent person and whatnot. It just the post just kind of got me to thinking if we really do this or if it's BS really. Yeah. And what they posted was I love us as black people, but sometimes we lose sight of what's right and wrong because of color.
Right.
And so it just got me thinking like do I give black people a pass just to give them a pass? Or is it just like, I don't want to call certain shit out because I don't want to do it in front of white folks?
Yeah.
You know,
for the company.
Yeah, you know what I mean? No, it ain't the company.
Right.
Because like, and not because I'm worried about looking bad in front of white folks. It's just like, fuck y'all, this ain't none of y'all business. You know what I mean? So I guess the way I look at it, you know, from a very high level, is just I'd rather pull somebody aside and like, hey, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, you
not
know.
so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, a little bit, dial it down, cuz, you know.
It's a tough thing, and it sparked a conversation.
See that lighter, bro?
Which is a conversation that definitely was needed, because it is true. Like, it's definitely some valid points in that whole statement. The fact is that I think that a lot of times we are in positions where it's like everything is kind of set against us in the first place. So like, you don't want to be the one to call out your brother because he already dealing with something else.
Right.
But that also don't mean don't let him be out here just saying stuff that don't make sense. Like,
Yeah.
So it's kind of both ways. Like, and then excuse me, I think where we get into a bind is something I kind of mentioned off camera too. It's just like a lot of times people take that constructive criticism, or I'll even call it checking, like, because sometimes you just have to get checked. And sometimes people look at that as hate. Like, that's not always hated. Sometimes it is constructive. Like,
Yeah,
you really shouldn't be.
on some bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just shouldn't be doing
Or
that.
I be on some bullshit or
right,
whatever.
exactly,
yeah,
or whatever. And I think those checks need to happen without automatically saying, oh, you just hate. Like, we can have a difference of opinion without me hating on you. Like, that's really all it is a difference of opinion. And at some point, we're trying to get to some kind of happy medium where we get some understanding.
Right.
Like, that just, I don't know. It just, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. I've definitely been in situations where it's some people that I've given passes. So when I heard that post, I know it's true because I've done it. Like, you know what? Let them pass. Because I'm gonna tell you a public figure where I think this was a real issue, with two of them actually. One being Stacey Dash that we won't get too far into, but the other was what's the old girl name? Used to work for the Trump administration. Yeah, her. Oh my God, what's her name?
Omarosa.
Yes, Omarosa, dog. And we really started getting to the point where I was trying to figure, because I really was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, because some of the stuff she was saying, some of the stuff she was doing, I didn't agree with.
But
then
you
I
can
was
tell
like,
she's an intelligent person.
Right, so I'm like, maybe she had a real motive. Like, so before we chop her down, let's see if maybe she was really like on some infiltration shit. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what that turned out to really be about. I think it just turned out her not really being who I felt she needed to be at the point. But still, I think for a moment in that, I did give her a pass because I'm like, I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. And I think we do that a lot, though. And I don't know if that's good or bad.
I think, I don't know, like, so when I think about it, like giving somebody a pass, like, some shit, so I think it's two different situations, right? So I look at Omarosa and her involvement with the Trump administration, and and most black folks would think, well, sell out ass, blah blah
exactly.
blah blah, right?
Right?
Yeah, and like, okay, and looking at the posts I saw on social media, and thinking about, I guess I was thinking about more like if cats out here cutting up and stuff like that in public or whatever, or is it somebody doing some shit at work? Yeah, you know what I mean? See what I'm saying?
I got you.
So,
okay, so yeah, we look at that from two different perspectives.
Yeah,
I got you. Yeah.
But with Omarosa, like somebody like Omarosa, they're not getting the pass from me.
They're not getting the pass.
Yeah, because
it's over.
Because infiltration, my ass, whatever. Like this motherfucker came.
I was thinking it was a possibility.
No, I don't, because like I don't see how any black person, self-respecting black person, could fuck with him at all when it's clear to you, him, and everybody else that he don't fuck with black people and he don't like y'all motherfuckers, right? And motherfuckers be tripping over themselves, trying to just. Hey, well, I don't know. I think that sometimes cats just want to be different. You know what I mean? They just want to be different.
So in that effort to be different, it's like whatever to be different.
You know what I mean? So like, what's old girl? What's old girl? Another highly intelligent black woman, but I just don't agree with her at all and shit. Candace Owens.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I'll be wanting to. She one of the ones I can't lie. When I first heard her, I'm like, what the hell is she talking about? But I seriously gave her, like, I really tried to give my attention to her because, like, I wanted to understand where she was coming from. I never was able to get to that point.
So she had me at, hey, Democrats is fucked up, black folks, y'all need to stop, like, this arbitrarily just like fucking with these niggas, like, and I was like, okay,
I agree.
And then she was like, and then she was like, well, in the conservative party and the Republican, and I was like, no, can't fuck with you, I can't go that far. You know what I mean?
At this point, I just gotta say that, like, both parties is fucked up.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you feed me the whole point of, like, don't just be giving your vote away to Democrats because that's what you used to, I vibe with you on that. Mm-hmm. But if you about to back it up with, this is why you should go conservative, we lost. Mm-hmm. We lost. Because
they don't fuck with us either, right?
Politicians don't fuck with people in real life. Like, the government is supposed to be for the people. I know we get into this conversation all the time. It's supposed to be for the people, but at the end of the day, man, politics, because of capitalism, is about money. It's about big business. It's about capitalism. That's just exactly what it is. So at some point, people get lost in that shuffle. So when we start talking about people really being involved in the process, then they start calling that being a socialist and shit like that. It's just like,
I don't care. Like, I am a socialist.
I mean, right.
Yeah, so
at the end of the day, right.
I don't. You call me all whatever.
Right, but they put such a bad, like, twist on it. Yeah. Like, it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think that this is almost like, and I hate to put these two together because this is always a problem, but it's kind of just like religion, right? It's like why do I have to have a denomination, you know what I'm saying, to believe in some kind of spirituality or God or whatever? Like, this is the same thing. How come that I believe in something right for the people that I have to choose a party? Like, why? They go, like, why is that even a thing? It's just always a way to divide and conquer, bro. That's the way I look at that shit.
Yeah, it's like the Matrix, System of control, right? You know what I mean?
Definitely a system of control. And then, and just to kind of go back to what we was just talking about, which was kind of funny, because I was actually going to jump in there at that point. We was talking about how, people just kind of assimilating to the Trump supporters, like, basically maybe trying to be different, but maybe they are still living with this same thing, and this is kind of segue into that. The piece we was watching, with David Banner. It's just like, a lot of times, we still, at this point, like, probably incoherently, still align ourselves up with our counterparts because we feel like being aligned with them is going to get us somewhere further. And, like, if you ain't seen this clip, real quick, since we edited it anyway, while we're talking about this, I'll actually segue into that clip. We'll show the clip during the video of what David Banner was saying. But I think a lot of that is still true. Like, we feel like we have to assimilate to our counterparts. When I say our counterparts at this point, I am talking about white America. It's like we feel like we have to fit in with them in order to get by. And that's something that I think has been instilled in us so much, it's unspoken. It just happens. You know what I'm saying?
First of all, if y'all haven't watched that clip with David Banner, he's talking, I forget the white guy's name, older white guy. And if you got IG and follow, I think it's called Voice of the Ancestors.
Yep.
And they posted it 2 days ago, I think. And what was it? It was David Banner Programmed or something like that. Programmed by David Banner or something like that. Yeah. But I just really appreciated the way where, before he even got to the whole racial thing, he broke it down into like fundamental, just like, truth, like true or false, right? Like there's no middle ground, and basically what he did, he just said, like, hey, if a computer is, not acting the way it's supposed to act, if it has a virus, if it's, shutting off or doing whatever it's doing, like,
are you mad at the computer?
Are you mad at the computer, or are you mad at the program, like the software or whatnot, right? What is it? It's not necessarily the computer. It's the programming that was put into it.
Exactly.
And so
start talking about how we've been programmed.
Right.
Perfect.
And dude was like, okay, I get that. And he was like, okay, cool. So, you know what I mean? Like,
Now that you understand that principle, then you look at the principle of how we've been programmed, and that's certainly the truth. And what's crazy about it, though, like, for real, is it's just so unspoken, though. Like even in the business community, like we still are able to like feel more comfortable doing business with our white counterparts than we are with ourselves. And I know they call it like some kind of form of self-hate, I guess, suppose. And I guess if you look at it from, I guess, that kind of perspective, I guess that's what it is. But then at the end of the day, I feel like it's not even, I mean, it could be self-hate, but I think a lot of it is just not knowing. It's just like being fed so much shit that you think is truth when it's not. Like you really start feeling like, man, I can't deal with this black person because like my cousin had this experience with a black business owner. But like, you know how many bad business opportunities or situations I had with white people? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm pretty sure it outnumbers the bad ones I had with black people.
Right.
But our bad instances with black people seem to stand out more for us. Like, why? Like, I've had way worse experiences with our white counterparts as far as when it comes to business. But like, people still tend to seem like, or to feel like there's like really some type of difference. If we can't get past that point, how are we ever supposed to be like empowering as a culture though? If we can't get past that point, and how do we get past that point? Like, is that even?
Well, I mean, I guess I would ask the question like, why are we concerned about getting past that point? Like, it's got to be at a certain point. You just got to stop trying to fit in other circles and trying to get a seat at the table and break the door down. And some point, you just got to build your own damn building, you know. And I just don't believe. Like I subscribed to that before, right? Like you got to get a seat at the table. We got to do this. And as I've gotten older and seen things in corporate America and experienced things
like,
in corporate America, like, man, exactly, fuck that table, right? Like, for real. You know, help educate these young cats about like who they really are instead of this bullshit they're fed in schools and after school programs and, you know, these team sports. And like team sports can be a good thing, don't get me wrong, but that's a lot of bullshit that was fed to us, you know, in the teams. Like, and I'm not talking so much like PAL or high school, nothing like that. Like when you get to college, you know, it's like
definitely
the team. Like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, team up to a certain point. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, sacrifice myself, you know, all this, you know what I mean? And that might sound fucked up or not, but like they get you to believe into this mantra of like, you know, if you go against what the team believes, you're an evil person. You're wrong.
Right. Yeah.
That's why, you know. So there's a method. I think it's called the 10th man method or something like that.
Okay.
And then, you know, in some countries and organizations that use this, basically, if 9 people agree, like we're gonna do this, right? Mm-hmm. It's the 10th person's like responsibility to disagree.
Okay.
You know, not just to disagree, but to like spark conversation on why they disagree and what are we really doing here? What are we really trying to accomplish?
Make sure you're making a conscious effort and not just a bunch of yes men.
Exactly. You know, it don't always have to be a consensus to make progress. Exactly. And that's why I want people to see, man, like people always think you got to get everybody on board. You get 100%. Like, no, it don't have to be that to make progress.
I think it's the exact opposite. I think that when it's too much harmony, that's when you don't get progress.
It could be.
Yeah, because like if you don't have anybody like defiant or like somebody going against the grain, what'll ever make you move out of position? You know what I'm saying? So like I think it's got to be some opposition in order. It's got to get uncomfortable at some point in order for you to make a move. I think that happens in anything. That happens just like in life. And just like real quick, just thinking about like people who have at this point gotten into or they were in careers that like at this point no longer exist. Like people getting laid off indefinitely. Yeah. Like sometimes you have to look at situations like that as a blessing to push you in the right direction. Sometimes that kind of hiccup in the road is what forces you to make changes or forces you to make moves. So like you can't really have harmony and expect to move forward. Like I feel like it's got to be some opposition. You know what I'm saying? Like so. I think a lot of people feel like when it's opposition, like it's a detour. For me, it's like a motivation to get to where you're going. That's just like anything. If you travel in a caravan of people, and I use the word caravan like I use that all the time, but if you're going with a lot of people and like somebody don't want to go, then you got to start thinking about like the reasons why we shouldn't go. And you might actually, because of that reasoning, you might take a different approach, and we all get there safely. As opposed to like damn near dying, falling asleep and shit at the wheel. And you know what? And to be fair, it damn well could be the opposite too, right? Yeah. Like those 9 people could be right. And this 10th person, you know, and they brought up a good point. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not really the way we should go, and that's cool, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's got to be some type of like
hold on, wait a minute.
Right.
Let's think about this, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It gotta be. Just a little bit. And see, like, just to square that back to what we're saying about, like, giving black people the pass, I think a lot of times, again, because we don't want to get into a stigma where we, like, fighting against each other, that we be letting stuff slide because of that. And, like, both of those are, it's a tricky medium right there. Because just like, for instance, like not to put us on blast, but in the city of Detroit, I think when this airs, it'll be a couple of weeks later. But like the stay-at-home order is still in place. But one of these days during the past weekend, it got into the 70s, and like people like out everywhere, and like we at this point we know that's wrong. We know it's not a good idea. But like, are we actually holding like these people accountable, or are we not holding them accountable because they black? Like, cause when white people was out clowning like before the shelter in place was over, we was talking all kind of shit. Now I seen black people out at Belle Isle. If you're from the Detroit area, you know what I'm talking about. I seen people like on live videos and stuff, and like in real life, I wanted to be mad, but for whatever reason, I wasn't. And I probably should be, though, because I should have the same disdain for them as I have for our white counterparts, but I didn't. And I think that's one of them points where I'm giving black people a pass for doing shit that I deem ridiculous for other people. Like, so, like, what do you do in that point, though? Because now, I think if I don't say something, then I guess I'm being hypocritical, though, right? Because if I'm talking about white people doing it, then I should very well be talking about black people doing it. Or should I even care, though? You know, and that's where you get into the situation too. Like people like, well, you supporting black people when they do this, and you don't support white people when they do that or whatever. It's like at some point, I have to admit, and I'm probably wrong for this. I have taken an L for black people just because they black.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think we get put into a position to be like that because we've been forced with our back against the wall for so long. It's just like I feel like we got to be together.
But not only that.
But at what risk though?
At a lot of risk,
yeah,
you know, the risk of whatever, you know. But not only that, it's a hell of a feeling to like feel to be by yourself, right?
Man.
So and when you can't even turn to your own folks, you know, and look for support, or some encouragement, or some guidance. Yeah. That's who do you go to? You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, because you know, white folks really ain't gonna fuck with you.
Not for real.
And then, like I said, black folks, if they turn, like, okay, OJ, perfect example. All right.
We gave OJ the pass.
That nigga did that shit, right? So, but I will say this, like, I think he did it, right? That's my opinion. But like, he was fine. He was acquitted in the court of law. You know, just like they talk about, you know, this, what's her name? The female cop that killed old boy, Amber Geiger. You know? Oh, well, she was found guilty. You know, she you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, she only got 10 years, but, like, it's the same shit, right? So, if you want to, like, if they want to use those type of arguments and whatnot, like, okay. But, like, he was acquitted.
Right.
You know, he was found not guilty. You know what I mean?
Whether you think he did it or not.
Yeah, you know, that's...
The law system that you designed.
You know, and he ended up going to jail later on for some other shit, right? But yeah, you know, like if OJ was coming here right now, I'd be like, just like Dave Chappelle, I'd be like, damn, Mr. Juice.
Right.
Damn, okay. Right. This nigga ran for 11,000 yards. See that?
And then when he leave, though, that
nigga did that shit, yeah. But for real, but like if he can't, like, I'll fuck with him right now. It's, you know, and just like Dave Chappelle said, some white folks would be like, oh, how could you? Oh, clutching their pearls.
Hey, so look. Now that we talking about something like that, though, like, what about R. Kelly, though?
That's one.
That's different. See, my thing.
I'm done with R. Kelly. I don't fuck with R. Kelly, though.
My thing is that I'm separating the music from the person. Though.
You can't, though. You can't.
I mean, I separated 11,000.
That's my opinion, obviously.
Right, I separated Rush Yards from motherfucking murdering his wife and her mister, whatever you call it.
You know, so crimes of passion and stuff like that, like, when you look at it, again, he was acquitted, right? Right. Okay, got that, right? And it doesn't make it right, but his ex and old boy, they were adults, right? Yeah. R. Kelly fucking around with these little children, man.
Yeah, it's different.
And so like, I don't know all the details. I didn't even watch that documentary because, like, I refuse. No, I don't watch that type of shit, man. But like, I can't ignore the fact that like all these. At the time, all these little girls, just call it what it is, that's what they were.
True.
These little girls came out, and it was like, yeah, R. Kelly fuck with me, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
And so, no, I can't support, like, I like the nigga music too, you know what I mean? Like, I hear it, like, and then it's like, damn, like, I can't listen to this.
Part of our growing up.
The music was like, one of his songs is a staple to every black cookout across America and shit. You step in the name of love or what, that type of, so, like.
And I can believe I can fly, shit.
Yeah, and I believe I can fly.
Graduation song.
Yeah, but anyway, like, and I hate the R. Kelly question, not because, like, yeah, it's a question that probably needs to be asked in the black community.
Yeah.
But I don't like it because people, when you give so much attention to it, people treat it like it's a norm and not like an outlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
so
the
like,
thing. Black people, I think us as black people though, we make a lot of things normal that shouldn't be. And I think we talked about this on the last show. We were just talking about like mental capacities and stuff. Like I think a lot of stuff that I think we make normal that shouldn't be, and it's because it's been so largely entrenched. And it's just kind of like what I was saying about aligning yourself with white people. It's just like I think it's just something innate. Like I think we mentioned off camera back in the day, and they mentioned it in the that piece with David Banner. It's just that back in the day, it wasn't a norm, but it's like what they had to do in order to get by. And then I think in our heads, for whatever reason, it's still there, like it's what we have to do, but it's really not. So I guess getting us to change that mindset is what's necessary. And how to do that, I think, is the issue that we've been running into because we haven't figured that out yet. Like some stuff is just hard to get rid of when it's so deeply entrenched. That's why when white people say, like when we talk about like racism or like institutional racism, stuff like that, and they don't really understand where I'm coming from, then that's when I understand that like there are some things that are just innate in us that aren't innate in other people, and we live in our life like it's normal, and it's not, dog. Like nobody, like we honestly can come out the womb and be like considered inferior. And I think I added to this, and this is kind of off the subject, but I added to this when I say this one thing, and somebody checked me about this like maybe a year or two ago. When, I think we've all heard it about how your parents tell you, like, because you're black, you have to work twice as hard. So I always thought that in my life, and I've always said it. But then, and I can't remember who checked me on this, but like they checked me on it and they said the reason why they don't think it's a good idea to do that is because you automatically setting that trigger in that person's, in that kid's mind, that they are coming from behind. Like, so they were saying, like, if they never know that they behind, then they won't ever act like they behind.
I think that's a dangerous game.
It's close, right? It's really close. Like, I don't know, because, like, you want to make them aware, because in certain situations, it's just going to be what it is. Like, you are going to be behind. But then I also see what they're saying, and the fact that if you put it in their head, then they going to automatically think that they're inferior. So it's kind of... It's a toss-up, but like... It's
got to be balanced. Like, everything, there's got to be some balance to it, right? Yeah. You need to be aware of certain social constructs and how to move within those social constructs, right? At the same time, there's got to be a certain level of personal responsibility and things like that. And like, I guess, you got to instill, again, I'm not a parent, but... I would assume, you would have to instill some type of hope, some type of goal setting,
right.
Into that.
That's that word hope.
Hope is not a strategy.
Exactly.
You need to have some tangibles, right?
Right.
So I guess goal setting would be, a better term. Right? But I just think that's a dangerous game. It's a very slippery slope, and I think I'm not a parent, but I really think it's got to be about that balance, right? And I think we both came into contact of people that have been brought up both ways, right?
Definitely.
Like you get to college, and again, black people are diverse. So we say that every week. I got to college, and I met black dudes, black women that came from like areas like I grew up in, right?
Right.
Those two interactions I had with those two particular people, and look at their backgrounds and how they were brought up, where they were brought up. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong being raised in, wherever you're from, you're from. You really don't have a lot of control over that when you're young, right?
Right, because you couldn't change it.
Yeah, it's what it is.
Right.
But in those interactions with those folks, I don't want to speak for you, but I could definitely tell differences on how we were raised and how we were brought up and certain things that we believed in and didn't believe in, right?
Certainly.
And in these two situations, they were more, I guess, wanting to be mainstream, wanting to fit into everything and everybody gets along, and we don't really have those many struggles and stuff like, that type of shit, right?
Right.
And which, if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. But and that just lets me know either one or two things. Either we can discuss it, we can talk about it a little bit, and I can get a better understanding idea of where you're coming from,
right? And
you can get better understanding where I'm coming from. And maybe we can meet in the middle, or I can move a little bit, they can move a little bit, whatever it is,
or not,
or we
right? Just see the perspective.
Yeah. And I guess my issue with that with black folks who believe in oh no, there's nothing wrong with society. It's 2020. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like, you're really being naive, and to just totally disregard hundreds of years of we talk about conditioning and stuff like that, but wealth building, and equity and school. Like, you can just go back and open any history book right now to any random page, any random page, and there's going to be something that's there something that's benefiting off, our people back then or whatnot, or some type of, colonialism you take it to the military. Why the fuck are we in Iraq, and in Afghanistan? Like, why? Well,
right.
Because that's just what we do.
Back in the day, while we were in Vietnam.
In Vietnam,
Right.
While we're in Grenada, all these different countries and stuff. Why we fucking with them? But pushing that propaganda, pushing that, it's.
Yeah, I think that those perspectives, and just obviously we went to school together, so I know the individual experiences that we're talking about, and I think it's a good and bad thing, and I think I mentioned this on another episode because I was talking about kind of being well versed in a lifestyle that doesn't include urban America, and then one that includes the natural population at large. But I think it's got to be a healthy medium, because at some point, if you believe too much of their experience, then you won't. I don't feel like you will really be able to handle what's really happening in the real world, because it's not. It ain't no Pleasantville.
Because their experience isn't the norm. They are definitely the outliers.
Yes, exactly. And that's the weird thing. Just speaking of Pleasantville, have you ever seen Pleasantville?
Yeah, I've seen it.
No, so to me, I think that's the perfect. It's the perfect depiction of what America wants you to think America is, as opposed to what it really is. You know what I'm saying? And then when people are really faced with diversity or faced with something that's out of the norm or a change, they really don't know how to react to it. That movie, it's funny, you know what I'm saying, and it's a decent movie, but at the end of the day, though, it is really a depiction of what America is. I think, and it's a good movie if you never watched it, but it kind of really puts into perspective what we're actually dealing with. And as black folks, I think that a lot of times we so far out of what we see as the focal point of America that we try to do anything we can to get inside that focal point. And I think what you said is just getting back to a point that you mentioned before. At some point, we got to stop trying to get in there and just make our own focal point. But I guess the scary thing is how, though, because I know that we always say this: everybody not gonna be on. You can only get your small percentage. But then you start feeling defeated because that small percentage don't always seem like it's gonna be enough to push the agenda. So you stuck, sort of. Not stuck. That's a bad word.
No, I'm not saying it's a bad word. I totally empathize and understand that feeling, right? Because a lot of black people can feel like that. You can have the best idea in the world, the greatest marketing strategy, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then, you really not get fucked with because it's just you may not have the means.
Right.
Or just you don't have the education, not necessarily a formal education, but you're not educated about how the whole system works as far as, talk to this person, get this permit, do that. Like,
exactly.
You're trying to figure all that stuff out. Yeah. And that can be very overwhelming for like the first generation of folks that's trying to make this happen for their people, right?
Exactly. And that's what we got to remember. Like, this really is the first generation that's trying to go in this direction. Like, so not to take anything away from like the civil rights movement or like the generation before them even, but it's like we are in a different dynamic. Like, it's anytime that you come in the midst of a industrial revolution, which is obviously what we get into right now. If you're not aware of that, then you need to really educate yourself on that, because this is one of those things, just like how things went to the combustible engines and shit at some point, and that type of industry right now, everything is going to automation, and this pandemic has made it even worse. Like, it's making it faster. Like, so now we really moving towards automation because like nobody want to touch or talk to people. So like now, like we really going to automation. So people who trying to do just to equate it to jobs, people who trying to get like a lot of manual labor jobs are being overtaken by AI. So like you're not gonna have those jobs. And I think this is how politicians keep everybody in line though, by selling you the dream. And I always go back to this, and Trump supporters, y'all on y'all own with this one, but I just have to be honest, that's how he trapped a lot of middle America, working class, black and white, into thinking that voting for him was going to bring back like coal mining jobs and shit. Like the industry is not using that kind of fuel. Like, it's not using fossil fuel for real, like not like it used to. So you sold these people that dream, thinking that their industry about to come back to their little town to 3,000, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not coming back. And that's how politicians keep a hold on it, with that and fear, like keep people in line. And I think that somehow, even though we know those things, when I say we, I'm talking about the black community, we know those things because we've been hoodwinked by politicians our whole life, so we know it. But then for whatever reason, we still try to fit into that scope. Like, I think it's up to us to change the thinking, but like, how do we... I'm gonna ask you how do you change that thinking, but before I ask you that, I'm gonna say that I think that moving forward, what's gonna be different between us and our parents is that I think that we are going to be more actively suggesting entrepreneurship. Like, the parents before us, put your head down and work, you know what I'm saying? Get you a family and shit, work this job for 40 years of your life. And then, you know what I'm saying, then that's it. So,
I mean, that was in the days of pensions and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And that stuff.
You got that no more.
Unless you have some type of government job or whatever. Mm-hmm. So two things, right? So, number one, I'm going to disagree with you on the Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said most of them, like Trump tried to sell this dream to them and, they bought into it.
Yeah.
I think some of them did, yeah. Mm-hmm. I think the majority of Trump supporters, he emboldened them, right? He made them confident to be okay with their hate and their anger against minorities, especially black folks.
I did good.
And I think that's the majority of them, because, like, to me, I don't understand how you say you believe in diversity, you believe in this, you believe in that, and then you support a man that clearly doesn't believe in any of that shit, right? So whoever you support, like, that's what you believe in. Whatever you support, what you put your money behind, that's what you believe in. I don't care what you say. Yeah. And we see, like, it's like these groups, these little protest groups popping up in Lansing and doing the same shit. I don't want to get too much into this, but doing the same shit the Black Panthers did, right? And
the narrative is completely different. That's why, going to talk about that next week.
That's why California has such stringent gun laws to this day, because of that one incident,
Exactly.
And NRA went to bat against, the Black Panthers.
Right.
And that's why I don't fuck with the NRA, but that's another story too.
Yeah. Something that, like I said, we're going to get into.
Yeah. Number two, how do you change that thinking? Again, I don't care if white folks change their thinking or not. I really don't. I'm at that point now. I don't care.
Right.
Black folks, that's what I'm conscious. That's what I can control, right?
Yeah.
So you hear that shit all the time. Worry about what you can control.
Sure.
So like I can pass some knowledge on to a young cat, old cat, whatever, as well as I can sit down and have some, and receive some knowledge from someone else.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier. So many people get into discussions just to prove that they're right or to prove somebody else wrong.
Right.
Like they're not getting into discussions to learn something or to experience different opinions or whatnot.
Right. Nobody learning nothing.
Right. And I'm not telling people how they should communicate with each other, right? I'm just saying to
But
me,
at the
it
end of the day,
seems.
yes, you should be telling.
Yeah, but
that's how they should.
and that's something. Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, to me, it seems like ultimately self-defeating, right? Because you just had this discussion, you had this whatever you want to call it, and ultimately it went nowhere because you weren't willing to hear what the other person was willing to say, and and they may not have been willing to hear what you were trying to say. So like, why even waste that energy? Like,
Exactly.
and that's why I don't. It doesn't really matter to me what white folks think or say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm still gonna call it out. Like when they police be beating the hell out of and you see they should have respected authority and blah 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 blah. Yeah, go tell that to the folks on the steps, not even on the steps inside the Capitol building with their AR-15s and whatnot. Right?
Right.
Come on now. Let's drink some of this.
I was just about to say, dog.
Let's drink some of this whiskey.
Right, go ahead and bless that bottle, man. Already unraveled it. So shout out to the Crown Royal XR. All right, so I've heard plenty of good things about it, so we're about to see how good it really is. All right, let's see here. Let's see what it smells like. That's like an old 1800 cat right there, boy. It scared me a little bit.
Can't mess with that 1800.
It's weird though, cause it smells like regular. It smells like regular Crown. So I'm wondering like what's gonna be different about it. We're about to see though. Like I said, the dude at the place told me he only break it out on Christmas, so I'm guessing like it must be some really nice stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Especially considering like he don't even celebrate Christmas. I think they was just celebrating a dream.
They might be. I don't know. they could be sometimes they get kickbacks, right? These liquor reps and whatnot. Oh yeah, this month if you push this, we can give you this and we can do that for you.
It could be all.
Yeah, it could be all. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's not. But I'm just suspicious by nature anyway. All right.
Yeah, Canadian whiskey always has a different kind of smell to it. It's kind of faint almost. It's not as strong or as bold as Tennessee.
It's just smooth. It's pretty smooth. There's no real. It's not really a sweetness. It's more of a. I think it's more like a tartness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of vanilla, caramel notes. A little oaky taste there with the finish.
So this is what's weird.
It's very smooth. I'll say that.
It's smooth as hell. Out of all the Crown Royals, I would say this is probably on the smooth tip. It's the best. I have to be honest with you. Like a lot of people don't like Crown Royal Black, but it's a little bolder. But I actually like the taste of that actually better. Like out of all of them, so I like the taste of Black better. I think the smoothness in this XR is exquisite though.
Yeah, it's definitely smooth.
Cause it really evaporates.
So like, I guess if I compared it to the Maker's 46, I would pick this over Maker's 46.
Yeah, I ain't gonna hold you. The Maker's 46 was decent, but
it's okay. Yeah,
left a little bit to be desired. Like I honestly would definitely take the regular Maker's Mark over the 46.
And if I had to compare this to Bro Brothers, I'd probably pick Bro Brothers.
Oh, Bro Brothers winning off rip. Like
so that's still my number. My early prediction. It's gonna be Bro Brothers versus Uncle Nearest in the finals.
Oh yeah, gotta be.
I don't know. We got a couple bottles coming up here real soon. Some local bottles. We gonna see. We gonna see. Yeah, got some local bottles coming up. Yeah, you got Joe Louis coming. We might have some 2 James or something.
So the Uncle Nearest though, I think we'll do I guess the green label one, which is a different year. I think we'll try that one this time because I think we had the black label last. I think it's a couple of different ones. I want to try the green label because I think I haven't had that one yet. So I want to try that one. We'll put that up against Bro Brothers. But I do like this. Now, as far as Canadian whiskeys go, it's definitely smooth though. Like it is smooth, but it's almost like, and this is probably weird, I think, but I think the taste is just faint enough that I think that the cigar drowns it out actually, which is weird. Like I think it's like the taste is light enough that like you won't even taste it no more once you hit this cigar. Like I haven't even hit mine since I drank it. But like from now I can kind of tell, like it's really a faint taste, which is scary because that means you get extra drunk by accident because you don't even taste it.
I guess I'm not gonna say like what it should or shouldn't taste like, because again, people are so different. I may like it, you may hate it, whatever it may be. I think if you're gonna pair it with a cigar, almost like maybe like a Connecticut tobacco or something like I don't know how many of you are real familiar with cigars, but like if like a New World Connecticut or something like that, or like I don't want to say Cuba because that's a flavor. I don't mess with those flavored cigars, you know what I mean? But like a New World or
it can't be an overpowering.
No, like it couldn't be a Padron or something like that, you know. It couldn't be like any of the LFDs, I think. But yeah, like a New World or Enclave or something like that. Maybe a Nub. Yeah, it'd go well with it.
And what I will say about Crown Royal is the only Canadian whiskey that I've actually experienced, I believe. Other than I did say Windsor Canadian. I think that was one back in the day, like some $1.75 pint. But I think that as far as these go, we've experienced at this point 8, 9, 10, so 10 different liquors during this point. We did season 1 and 2, and I will say that out of all the whiskeys and bourbons, I do think that like the stuff from Kentucky and Tennessee is better than the Canadian stuff. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Just off rip. But if I have to choose one, and if you are a Crown Royal drinker, I think this is definitely something that you should experience just to like honestly have the experience. But as far as taste-wise go, I don't think that you're not doing a disservice by getting the regular or the Crown Royal Black. I think either one of those two, even though it's obviously a lot less expensive than the XR, I think you're still doing good. This is one of those aspects where I feel like, I think we mentioned this before, paying more for a drink don't always make it be better. And I think this is one of those situations. Like, it's good, don't get me wrong. I think that you probably paying for the experience of it being extra rare. As far as like choosing now, I probably would try the XO, which is probably about $80 less expensive.
Yeah, XO gonna run you about anywhere from 50 to 60 bucks or something like that.
Exactly.
Anybody new to the whole bourbon whiskey game, like you got to get hip to like the different names and stuff too, like so extra rare and stuff like that, right? It doesn't always mean better or good. Right. You know, it could mean like this particular vintage, this recipe gets distilled, once every 4 years or 5 years or whatever their cycle is. I don't know. That's what it could mean. And maybe it's distilled more, some different ingredients and things like that. But it doesn't always equate to taste, like like a better taste, I guess you could say.
Even though they say it's supposed to, but
yeah,
really
it's supposed to. But like again, it's just focus on something. Like I've had some $26 larceny,
exactly.
And then some $250,
larceny.
Whatever.
Thing,
Whether it's what am I thinking of? Blue Label, Johnny Walker.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll take the $26 bottle of larceny any day over Blue Label, Johnny Walker.
Sure. Yeah.
Some people are, what? You know what I mean? But like that's just, sometimes it's different.
It's not always equated to price though, for real.
No.
And that's the kind of thing, and kind of to mash those two together. A lot of times it's just that preconception of what we equate like something that's good, or even in this case what we equate success to. Like we always have something in our mind, wherever it comes from, that like one thing is better than the other without ever experiencing it. And I think that's what black people do all the time. Like I think we equate a lot of things with success, or like things that are supposed to be high quality just because of other people's experience, and even though we've never experienced it. So like, how do you live your life trying to reach a success that's somebody else's success? It's not even, like, it might not even be yours. And you chasing a dream that's not yours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, that's what you can kind of get wrapped up into that whole, like, the conundrum, right? Mm-hmm. So, and this not, I'm sorry, this not all black females, But I'm gonna pick on a couple of y'all, right?
Uh-oh.
So a couple black females I know, they be up on like the material things, you know what I mean? Not all of y'all, but like, and that's cool. Like that's what you like, whatever. Yeah, that's cool.
Definitely not gonna knock that.
And then, but I think it's always funny though when we talk. I got this and I got that and I'm wearing this and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And then like a black dude I think he fresh and cool, got his little J's on and all that stuff. Maybe got some buffs or whatever, like Big Gretch.
Big Gretch. Shout out to Big Gretch.
Yeah, shout out to Big Gretch.
Right.
But and then it would be like, oh, nigga, I don't care about this, I don't care about that. But then
what you do?
And then the next sentence like, you don't even get my hair done. You don't even do it. Like, so wait a minute, you do care about this stuff or you don't? Like,
right.
I don't know. It just. I think and my point is this. Like, I think sometimes, and to be fair, it's to two people that I'm thinking of are a little younger, so they need to do some maturing, right? So there's that. But my point is, our culture can be so fickle about things like that at times, right? And I don't think that's necessarily good or bad. I just think it's one of those things, again, where you're really trying to, you talked about success, and black folks are really trying to determine what that is. Yeah. Is it things? Is it money? Is it the ability to just do whatever the hell I want? Right. Is it, whatever that is, right? Yeah. And not downplay it. Like, if somebody, if they like things, and as long as they're not flashing in front of your face all the time, then that's cool. Like, they like stuff. They like things or whatever.
I mean, you look at the kings and queens back in our for real history. Obviously, they like things because they had all kind of treasures and gold, and you know what I'm saying? So, obviously, it's a thing. It's okay to like things. And like you said, it's no point in degrading if that's somebody's picture of success, then that's just what it is.
So like a good man or woman, I'm just gonna keep it gender equal whatever. So right. you got a good man that may not have as much money, may not drive the best car or something like that, right. May not have a car, but maybe you gotta take the bus or you gotta walk, but he hustling every day. He handling his business. Compared to maybe a dude that financially got it together a little bit better, but on total bullshit, right?
Bullshit, right.
And more often than not, in my experience, most females apply to the dude that's a little bit more financially stable, right? Even though the other dude, he ain't on no bullshit, but he just try to make it,
Right, he just ain't got it all the way together.
And don't get me wrong, it's some of us black dudes out here too that really don't got it all the way together. Believe me, it's I feel some of y'all sisters out here, man.
Right, so yeah.
Come on,
it's rough.
I see why some of y'all, date white men and whatnot. Cause some of us be on some total bullshit at times, right?
Sure.
And I see how that can shape the rest of your your perception on a person or a type of person, I guess. Yeah. But I don't want to get too far off subject. But
but no, that's the truth though.
Yeah.
You get back to that point though, like I said, where you do kind of lose focus of what your idea of success is because you equating it to somebody else's, and that's where black people get lost into the situation of not. I think, like you said, just not knowing what their definition of success is, and I think also you mentioned this earlier too about people basically really just want to be different because being different is the new thing, oh, you not like everybody else, so it's a good thing. But at the end of the day, though, even if you're being different, though, are you being different with a purpose? It's okay that if you see success as something else, then that's completely fine, and that don't give you the right to obviously down somebody else's thing, but also it also don't absolve you from the responsibility of checking black people when they just filed.
Yeah.
It don't take that ability away, because I think we so busy trying to be let that person be that person, but at the end of the day, it still got to be checks and balances. No, bro, that's some bullshit.
And that's what I was about earlier. Amongst us, I'm gonna do that all the time, right? Because that's our business. Mm-hmm. When it's not amongst us, I'm gonna wait till another time to do that because that's not their business.
Right.
It's our business.
Now, let me ask you this. This is sort of on that subject a little bit, but what about the scrutiny that was coming on old girl? What's Big Baby name?
Oh, Lizzo?
Lizzo, right? So what about that though? Because she got a lot of public lashing, right? From black people, you know what I'm saying? Where we feel I think for me, I felt I just didn't even though she was just trying to. I think that's a what you call that thing when that's a self-conscious thing where she just trying to build people's self-esteem. I get that point, but at what point does it start seeming like you being more of a spectacle then like see that's when I draw the line. I'm just like, dog, now you just doing too much. Like shaking her ass with her ass out at the Lakers game was a bit much to me. Like I get it, people saying like, well, if that was a little slim girl with a fat ass, you wouldn't have said nothing. Like at the end of the day, I think I would have still said something because you don't need to have your ass out at the Lakers game. I don't care if it is a fine ass or a fat ass. It's like you shouldn't have your ass out at the Lakers game. I don't care what it look like. So it seems like you got something to say about that.
I'm on the other side. I don't.
Word.
If you want your ass out of the Lakers game, whatever. Like, I don't really care, right?
You don't care.
No, I really don't. Because ultimately, what does that do to me? Like, I might be like, or damn, no. Like, but that's it. After that, I'm done with it. It's got no other effect on what I'm going about, my everyday life, I guess, right? My problem with Lizzo was that I would never sit my naked ass on some nasty ass public seat. That's my problem.
What you mad about?
Yeah, like damn that dirty ass seat, you sit your naked ass on it. Really? But yeah, I get what you're saying about being careful of making yourself a spectacle. Like, yeah, you don't want to be paraded out, to be like their little show thing, a play toy or whatever. Like, I get that, right?
Yeah.
I don't really support. I don't support her, but I don't knock her either, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel her music like that.
Whatever.
But like whatever, like that shit. At the end of the day, really don't affect me like really one bit. And honestly, I'm just happy as a black person out here, just whether they doing it the way I would do it or not. They out here making it, and they literally care about other black people. Like that's one thing you can't say about her. That she care about other black people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for that reason alone, I'll fuck with her. Like I'll read about her, stuff like that. But
as far as that shit really
what I want my daughter to walk out to the Lakers game with her ass out. So I'm like, no, I wouldn't, right? No,
right.
But she ain't my daughter,
right?
So, and the other thing too, I think women in general just get sick of dudes telling them what to do with their bodies and shit, right? Because we're in the midst of this whole abortion thing, and I'm not even gonna give my opinion on that because it don't. Again, like I'm not. Whether I believe or don't believe, or that's personal to me. And some people are okay with sharing that, some people not.
Well, I will at least say this. I'll interject real quick, and I'll let you get back to your point. At least at some point, though, I mean, it really just is their choice. Like I can't believe you go put a bunch of dudes together and decide that what she can and can't do with her body. Off rip, whatever you think, like whether you for it or against it, like I still just feel like it's their choice. But anyway, go ahead.
That's exactly it. I remember, I forget what state it was. It was one of these southern states. They be ass backwards down there anyway.
Georgia, Alabama, one of them.
Louisiana, Mississippi, one of them.
Right.
And then they had like a picture of like the health council or whatever they want to call it, and it was all old white men. Like, why are they making this decision about? Think about it. They're making decisions about black folks. They're making decisions about women. Everything, right? One way, people are going to say one way to combat that is get out the vote, right? Okay, I get that, right? Yeah. But we have to do other things too, you know what I mean? Like,
I got something to say about that. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Not about the vote and shit. Go ahead then.
Oh, no, I'm just saying we have to do other things too. Like, be active in our community, mentor, look out, you know what I mean?
Right.
It don't have to be everybody. It could be one person that you kind of, passionate about, whatever. But, you pass it on. You pass it forward. So
exactly. No, just piggyback on that voting thing though. So did you see the whole thing with Diddy? Now I didn't see the actual post, right? So I just seen like the memes or whatever.
Yeah, I seen the memes.
So whatever happened with Diddy, basically he's saying like don't sell out your vote for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like don't just be out here voting. Like make that vote mean something. Like make these niggas work for your vote. And that's all he was saying. But like people jumped on like, oh my God, what do we mean? Type shit like. In real life, man, and I say we, I'm talking about our black culture, dog. We got the fakest outrage section in life, nigga. We get fake outraged about everything. What are you outraged about? In real life, no, you should not be selling your vote for free. At some point, we need to be getting something out these politics, dog. We just need to. It's necessary. And then I think people took that as like basically if you don't get what you want, like you not go vote, then that's just stupid kind of thing. But at the end of the day, man, look, I know this is not a popular opinion, but at some point I feel like we need to band together and put our money together. Depending on like whoever in there, like our money and our power together will make these elected officials do whatever it is we need to do. I know that's not going to be popular. I know it probably don't make sense, but we talk about how jacked up politics are and how politicians are lying and taking money. So we know that. So at some point, we just got to be on that part that's paying money and making them do what we need them to do. Because at the end of the day, dog, they work for the people, but they also working for that money, bro. Like, so if we don't have no control in that, I don't know if it really matter who we voting in there. If we voting in what's my man name? Andrew Yang. Like, it don't matter. Like, still at some point, we got to be able to manipulate something, because the president ain't the end of the road as far as voting and what you call it, legislation go. Like, you still got the Senate, you still got everybody else. Like, everybody got their hand out. Everybody trying to get their palms greased. Like, we got to be in a position to make power moves, to make these politicians do what we need them to do. Simple as that. And I don't know how we got on voting and shit, because I got off on a tangent talking about P. Diddy. I just thought I had to say that.
Just from a high level, yeah, I think P. Diddy is right. Like, yeah, you got to make folks work for your vote.
Exactly.
And what's the that age-old definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over, trying to get the different result. Right?
Yeah, it ain't working.
Obviously not working.
Maybe locally it's working, right? Where you vote for your councilman or your alderman.
Yeah, I think that's
something
important.
like that. Yeah, because like you see that every day.
Man, shout out to that alderman in Chicago.
Yeah.
I can't never think
always
his name,
forget his name, but yeah. And if y'all don't know the alderman in Chicago, he basically just came out and said, "Hey, these legal marijuana companies, unless you have some type of black person or person of color in your ownership, you are not getting like a pass to set up shop in my district."
Exactly.
And
that was a stand-up thing.
Yeah, and he said that straight. Like, I don't know. I haven't really checked in on it to see how steadfast he held to it or whatnot. But that's still a pretty bold statement for a politician to make. Whatever.
Yeah.
But these politicians, man, like I wish people would look into third parties, right? I really do, because what's the common thing? Oh, they can't win. You saying that before you even know who's running, what they're running on, what they're running for, blah, blah, blah. Like,
with the right
you've done no research, right? And look at Biden, career politician. You know what I mean? On some like, he been a politician for 30 years or however fucking long. What has he done? What is his plan moving forward? Other than, they all sit up there and they say, I'm not for this, I'm not for that, but we do need to do this and we need to do that, and I have a 14-point plan. Oh, do you? All right, well, let's go examine. Let's hear more about his plan. And that's why I don't really like the debates, right? Because they only give these cats 2 minutes to talk, really,
right.
And it becomes like a pissing match, right? Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Hell yeah.
And it's like later for that. I'd rather just go on the internet, get some open sources and whatnot,
right, yeah.
See where your money coming from and who's backing your campaign.
You say that, and ever since you brought that to my attention,
because you got to pay that. Like they just don't give politicians money just because.
Right.
They get something back for that. Like you know what I mean?
Right.
Like they get something back, and wherever their money coming from, that's who they support. Whether they support them personally or not, if that's what they do in office, that's who they support.
See,
all right?
And that fact exactly is why I said FDV, nigga. Fuck that vote.
It's so funny to me.
I mean, I'm gonna vote though. I'm just saying.
It's so funny to me.
Probably gonna vote.
I mean, if you vote or not, that's your right. If you want to vote, great. If you don't want to vote, great. That's your right to pick either one.
All I want to do too is another side note. Your ancestors died for this right. It's no longer an acceptable argument for me. I'm sorry, they did, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if they'd have understood what the democratic process was gonna be, I guarantee they wouldn't have fought as hard for that shit. But anyway, go ahead. Though.
No. It's just the crazy part about this whole capitalistic system to me is that typically bribery is illegal. You go to jail for that, right? But then they have lobbyists, and that's all they do, really, right? And somehow that portion of it is legal, right? Because that money is going to these politicians and coming from these PACs and all this other stuff. Yeah, theoretically, whatever. If corporations giving you money, it's not to help people. Believe me, 99.9% of the time, it's not to help people. Right? It is so they can bolster their bottom line at a later date and whatnot. So they can tell their investors, like, hey, this politician is really backing, if we want to buy out this company, or if we want to buy land here, if we want to do this. You know what I mean? And if they get an answer they don't like, it's like Amazon did when they wanted to move to New York, and New York was like, well, you guys are gonna have to do this, this, and this, and this, and they were like, no thanks, we'll go over to Arlington. And I think they worked out something in New York anyway, so they might be moving there anyway, another headquarters or whatever. But when you have these corporations, like, they're not looking, oh, we can go here and employ this many people.
Yeah.
No, no. Fiscally, what does this look like?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is capitalism, and they are there to make money. So I get it to a certain degree, but I think that since we understand that, we got to start utilizing that in our advantage. And I think that's no different from what P. Diddy said. And people with the fake outrage, like that shit just annoying. But anyway, I'm gonna get off the voting thing because that's not what we're talking about for real. But we did just have to talk about that. But going back to the Crown Royal. So just thinking about Canadian whiskeys, and I'm just about to segue this into something completely different that you probably didn't even know was coming. But thinking of Canada though, right? So they got the universal healthcare thing. I'm not well versed on what's going on over there as far as this pandemic or whatever. But I'm curious.
Yeah.
But I'm curious because if they got this whole thing where people not really paying for healthcare, I wonder how that's going for them, as opposed to us who are paying millions and millions and millions of dollars for healthcare and still not getting proper healthcare. Like, I wonder what the difference really is.
So, they haven't paid for healthcare in quite some time, right. I guess. I've heard both, right? Like, it's great, and I've heard horror stories too, like socialized healthcare, so I get away for this, and I don't have a choice in this, and I don't
have a choice. I can see that.
and I don't. Obviously, I don't have that option, so I don't know really what's true or not. I guess could really research it if I was that interested in it. But the one thing that I do admire about Canada's government is, I'm not gonna say they put their people first. I don't know if any country does that really, but they do try to take care of their folks, right? Yeah. So everybody here got a $1,200 stimulus. Well, not everybody, but got $1,200 stimulus check, right? And again, I don't know all the details and the ins and outs of this. I just read briefly. I think it was the New York Times about Canadian citizens getting $2,000 a month, and this and that. And I don't know all the ins and outs of, what qualifies them or disqualifies them from getting that. Yeah. But it just seems like they have more measures in place to take care of the everyday person rather than the corporations. Where here it seems like it's the other way around. Right. Let's take care of the corporations first, and then maybe, we can toss a couple crumbs to the folks. Yeah,
and it just it puts you into a position where you just start realizing, like, the corporation is always going to be more important than the person. And if you living in a society that's like that, how do you combat that though? Like, how do you even combat the point that the people that's basically the government are the people who, I hate to say it like this, but are in control of your life. To understand what it is to be grown. And we don't understand that all the time and shit. That's way off subject. We want to talk about that, but it's the truth. But I think I am going to bring it up more because I think we in a comfortable enough space where you talk about some shit. But I don't think he always ready to talk about, hey, shit, they experienced shit over there they was trying to leave behind. They mind probably block some of that shit out for real.
Don't even remember
unless you bring it up. And then I'll be thinking if I bring it up, what does this nigga start back having nightmares again or some shit? I don't want to bring that shit back. But I do want to know.
It's some of that, and I think the other part of it is too that it's not. None of the shit was really pleasant, right? So
exactly.
Nobody really likes talking about things that are not pleasant, right? Right? But at the same time, someone that hasn't experienced it, they really. You can try to explain, you can try to give examples and stuff like that.
You're still not gonna get it.
Still not gonna really get it. You know what I mean? And it's just like this whole race thing. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I'm just not concerned about white folks anymore because they really not gonna get it until is the wrong word because it's never gonna happen. But they would never get it unless they were a black person for a period of time. You know what I mean? Which, have you seen that Wale video?
I haven't. You got a new video?
Yeah, so
black shit.
Yeah, so the whole video is based around black privilege. Okay. And you ever seen that old movie, White Man's Burden? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like that, where white folks are struggling, they can't make it, and black folks, we eating good. Yeah. We ain't paying attention to y'all, nothing like that. So it's kind of trippy, man. But it's straight.
All right, my bad. What was we talking about? I got way off tangent on this Vietnam shit, though. What was we talking about? I got way lost, nigga.
Click off on the thing.
Right. When we talked about the universal healthcare, that shit. Damn, I was in the middle of saying something. Fuck it, I don't know if I segue into that Vietnam shit, but I kind of want to talk about it for some reason. I don't know why. All right, let's get past that. I don't know. We just got what the proof was. I want to say it's 100.
It's okay, right?
What the proof was. I want to say it's 100. No. Oh, it's only 80 proof. Wow, I was surprised. So it's only 80 proof, so it's 40%.
Well, that in bourbon is usually, that's not a bourbon, but I'm saying bourbon is usually higher proof.
Yeah.
So we've been drinking things that's right around 100.
Yeah, right around 100, yeah. So yeah, the 80 kind of threw me off. But as far as taste-wise go, though, like, I can't lie to you. Like, I'm not I don't know, I'm not a fan. Like, I was excited because, like, wow, it's extra rare, the extra rare, blend, but it's like, would I do it again? Just if somebody else wanted to taste it. I don't think I would buy it just off rip. I would certainly get the regular Crown Royal or Crown Royal Black before I got some of this stuff. I mean, what you think though?
I'd buy it to like have in my collection. You know what I mean? Like maybe one day I might want some or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I really keep all my good liquor locked up anyway, though.
Right. Hey, man.
Because sometimes people come through here and, they inject themselves right at home. And I'm like, hold up. Right. So, yeah, I started locking my good shit up. But,
especially when it's stuff that you know that you don't have to taste
for. It's okay, right?
Hey, it's just okay.
Is it worth $130, $120, whatever? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And, again, I think this is one of those cases where you're not really paying for the taste, you're paying for the process and the bottle and all that type of stuff, right? It's not bad.
Oh no,
it's okay.
Not by a long shot. It's definitely not bad.
Yeah.
Just not. I don't think it's for the price range, and I ain't gonna lie. I think the two people I ran into contact with, they really geeked it up, so I was really excited about it. And maybe I overshot myself by getting way again. I ain't gonna lie to you, dog, and it's not because they're, black distillers or, black, we'll stick with distillers. Not because they're black distillers, but I still haven't had anything yet that I feel on that same level as Bro Brothers or Uncle Near's. And maybe it is a biased opinion. Like, maybe I am just feeling that way because of my black pride and my thinking that, like, some black people is involved in it, and I really want to support it.
And that's okay.
But taste-wise, though, like, honestly, it's no comparison. Like, Bro Brothers was the first thing that was even remotely close to what I love about Uncle Near's. And Uncle Near's was just, I don't know what's in it, man. I really don't know what's in it, but whatever they did.
Crack, your mama on crack rock.
No.
Not my mama.
Not my mama. Wow. I seen that video, I couldn't believe that we that old. That was really a song, bro.
It was for real like in grade school.
That was really a song. Yeah. And just thinking about that though, and this is kind of off subject, but like that was a real thing though. Like as a kid, like in the 80s, like a lot of these kids, man, parents really was on crack though. Like in real life, they had crackhead parents, bro.
And again, that's why, getting back to our original topic, like that's why I had those talks with black folks amongst black folks, right? Because we were systematically, like the government, filter these drugs into black neighborhoods, right? Because to destabilize, because like they were definitely afraid of that black power movement at the time, right? Like, damn, we got to do something about these niggas, right? And so when someone comes in deliberately, and not just someone, your own government comes in and deliberately disrupts your not even your community, but like states of black people, California, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Illinois, places like that would rely heavily on like manufacturing and stuff like that, and you get strung out on these drugs, you're not worried about going to Ford.
Right.
You're worried about, damn, I gotta get this next hit, Hey, I only got $7, but I can go do this and blah, 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 you know what I mean? So like, when you do that to an entire population, it's gonna be some of us that's fucked up out here, right?
I mean, when you look at what happened in California, you know what I'm saying, like how they basically introduced like, you know, the whole crack rock thing into play and was kind of like really involved in that and even used some of those proceeds to fund shit they was doing overseas. You can double check our facts if you wanna.
I'm about to say something.
It's funny that a lot of these things have been proven and like the paperwork is there and because of the Patriot Act, a lot of this shit is like is public.
Public source now.
Yeah, it's public source now. But even with that knowledge, people still act like the government not out to like the government don't sometimes have ill intentions.
I can kind of understand it to a point because like if you a lot of things you want to get done, you have to go through whether it's a local, state, or federal government, right? And yeah, so there is a level of trust you have to have within that government to push through whatever you want to push through at times, right? So like, it's that rock and a hard place, right? Yeah. You can't. I mean, you can, but you can't really just say I don't fuck with the government, blah 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 blah, because you really do, right? Because it's all intertwined into your life.
It is.
Unless you're just totally self-sustaining, right? And which is not.
It's not possible.
I'm not gonna say it's not possible. It's just not many of us that can't do that can do that. You know, you don't have the resources, the means to do that, or the knowledge, right? You know. So it's tough, man.
It's a rock and hard place. Yeah, you know, explain it. And that's why I say though, like that's definitely the position that you in when you confronted with that ideology. But because of that, I feel like that's the reason why you gotta take the government for what it is and use it for your own good. Like the reality of it is just like this. I'll speak about this, and I think some people I seen this somewhere on social media somewhere, but people were saying how a lot of people post stuff like, you know, you should take this time out to start a business, do this kind of thing, and then they was like, you can't really be telling people what they need to be doing at this point. But I get that, like you don't want to have control on people and tell people what they should be doing. But in reality, I look at it as an opportunity to use that government that you talk shit about. Use the government to get to what you need, because at the end of the day, that's what your vote's supposed to be. Your vote is supposed to make these elected officials do what they need to do to make your life better, because they're supposed to be working for the people, right? So this is the same thing. Like if you've been laid off your job, or even if you haven't been laid off and your hours getting cut and you getting some kind of kickback from the government, I say, like, by all means, take those proceeds and start building your own corporation. At this point, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with people saying that though? Like people acting fake outraged about that.
It's patience, right? So people get into it and they want things to be immediately successful, right? That's the majority of us, right? That's not going to happen, right? You're not, for the most part, you're not just going to be able to quit your job and focus on, you know, unless you got some money saved up and you've been planning this for a while, some stuff like that. Yeah, then okay.
It's not going to happen with one stimulus check.
But like, yeah, you know, like now, yeah, you might be able to, you know, do a couple side hustles or something like that. Yeah, and that's cool. I tell you what I don't like though about some, you know, you mentioned social media, about some of these pages and these sites that are so-called, you know, pro-black and things like that. I don't like when they attack black folks, and what I mean by that is, you know, you see these memes or you see these long posts out there about y'all need to be doing this and blah 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 blah. Oh, okay. Educate us then. You know, right. Like you don't have to give someone the playbook on your personal plans in particular, but show someone how to set up an LLC or something like that. You know, we can't just play this game of y'all should be doing this. We got to be doing this. Like,
right. I feel what you're saying.
People got to have some type of support system, you know, to bounce ideas off of, you know, to get knowledge from, or, you know, if necessary, to get finances from, or whatever. It's just not, y'all need to go get land and do this and do that. Like, everybody just can't go do that. You know what I mean?
You tell me one person does that. Go do, but you're not telling me how to do it.
Yeah, one person does it, and if you got the knowledge, you pass that knowledge on. And it doesn't always have to be free. You know what I mean? Right. Like, yeah, you can charge, you can do things like that. You know, just don't make it so outrageous that where, you know, people can't benefit from your knowledge.
That's true though. So just like looking at that in particular, like if you just say, just going back to the LLC thing, because I was talking to both of my nephews about that, because I have an LLC, and I think that this is a point where there may be a little additional revenue coming in, so it wouldn't be a bad time to look into that, to at least create that entity. But like I know how to get one, so like I'm gonna provide them with that knowledge. But again, like you said, you shouldn't even feel comfortable telling people what they should do if you can't help them get to it.
Yeah.
Because like that's like somebody telling you how to do something that they don't have no clue on how to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is what politicians do all the time. They tell you how you should be thinking, but they have no idea how to think themselves. So this is one of those things. So like, I think if I was to, because I've never actually posted nothing like that. I think I posted the fact that I think before I knew I was getting a stimulus check, I did say that if I do get one, then this is what I'm going to do with my shit. Like I'm gonna invest in myself. Like, but these are things that you should be promoting to the people in your community anyway. Whatever you got going on, you should always be trying to invest something in yourself, and that's not always monetarily. Like education can be an investment into yourself. Like every opportunity you need to take advantage of to make yourself better. Because at the end of the day, these corporations, this world, the government, everything will move without you. Like simple as that. So at some point, you got to take some time out to put that into yourself. So I think that's fine by saying that. But again, to piggyback off what you said, it is ill for you to be like getting on talking about, well, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. How about you hit somebody with, you know what, you get this X amount of dollars, you can take this portion and file your LLC at this location. Like, give people some options. Like, I think people be wanting options, they just don't want you to tell them how to do stuff. And I don't know why people are like that, but they just are. They don't want you to tell them what to do, but if you put it out there and they can make their own decision about it, then it'll usually work out better. And I think we are the worst at that, though. And I think maybe we're so bad at that because I think that we always, in every situation, and I think this is us, that's one of those innate things, I think this is us always being in survival mode. I feel like we always badger each other over the head about what we need to be doing because we always got a sense of urgency. We always feel like we got to do it now, but without ever actually explaining how to do things. And that's something I think we got to take a step back to start. And look, I'm going to equate this to a whole other thing. The conversation I was having on my other podcast, I think you, and shout out to Tiana, our local therapist and shit, obviously who watches our show now. But I think both of y'all said the same thing. Like a lot of times, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think we are very guilty of that. Like we trying to get across like some for real information, but we saying it all wrong and people receive it fucked up and then nothing ever happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause you trying to give people the best concept, like, cause like in your head you feeling like you get this extra money, you should be doing this, that, and the third. But not knowing that when you saying it like that, you talking at a person and they not receiving it, so you're pointless.
You know, a lot of times too, so you look at the black community and you look at being an entrepreneur, or, investing money in, personal ventures and things like that. I wish I could refer back to something to kind of back this up, but I feel like most black people that are in that situation or are looking to start a business or whatever, it's not so much that they don't know how to get started or they're apprehensive or got some anxiety. Yeah, there may be some of that. I think with a lot of black folks, though, it is, what do I do about my current situation, right? Like, yeah, I can start this, I can do that, but next month I still got to pay rent. I still got to pay Nardo. I got car insurance. I got this going on. I got to put food on the table. So I think, again, we go back to balance, right? So how can I balance that? What things can I sacrifice in my budget? It may be something like that, showing someone how to set up a budget, right? What things can I sacrifice to save more money over here to make these moves later on, right? And I think a lot of people struggle with that because it's just like they can't see it long term because they've never been able to live long term. And then when you give some people some tools on how to manage their current situation, they might be a little more apt to move on into starting a business or investing in something or whatever it may be, right?
Absolutely.
And that's saying it takes money to make money,
yeah.
And which is true, yeah. But don't let that dissuade you from getting started, right?
Yeah.
If you got something you want to do and you got $500 in your pocket, you get the most you can out of that $500. You know what I mean? Like that's what you put aside for or whatever. You know, you decide to move in, you move. But if you want to save more, you save more. But
I think what you said though is definitely. I think it's true, and I think it's overlooked a lot of times. Like you do tell people what they need to be doing, but the reality of it is when their current situation don't really dictate that they're able to do that.
Yeah.
How you convince somebody?
They're like.
It's like, I get it. Like,
that doesn't help me right now. Like,
exactly. And when you say it like that, I get it now. Like, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm one of those people. I was just like, dog, you get this little extra money, like you need to be doing this. But I'm thinking like, if you already in this situation, and I trust me, I identify with this because like I've had struggles with my credit, which I'm working on now. I've had struggles with that, and if you know, anybody knows that when you got credit issues, it's I ain't gonna say it's impossible, but it's tough to move forward. Like because like the world revolves around credit. Like what you got in liquid assets don't always mean that you go get into certain circles. Don't always mean that you gonna be able to acquire certain things. Like you can have $1 million with 400 credit. You know what I'm saying, rating, and that $1 million ain't gonna mean nothing, like, cause the world running on credit at this point. Like, I don't know how much of anything is running on real liquid assets. Like, everything is kind of on some credit thing. Like, so if you don't have your credit together, then you stuck anyway. So you get a couple of extra dollars, and I'm telling you, you need to invest in this. But you got this 400 motherfucking credit score, and this debt to income ratio is just all jacked up. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying ain't gonna mean nothing to you. And this is the thing too, like, and this is something I wanted to let people know. And again, not to equate our success with our counterparts, but I think this is one that we can equate. And I won't even say with our counterparts, just with the way the world works. Because at this point, what I'm doing, I'm working on my regular credit to get that together, so I can shift into my business credit. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to work the hell out this business credit because in real life, if you didn't know this, that's what white people have been doing their whole life. That's why Donald Trump is able to have all these businesses. And like when people start crying, talking about well, he ain't got no money because he filing bankruptcy. Like, bro, he filing bankruptcy on this business shit. His personal credit is probably A1. Like, he probably don't have no issue with that. And that's where I think black people don't even know like the difference in it. I think that's important, and I think it's something that we need to address a lot of times. That like if you get your personal credit together, like you really do need to look into some type of like running some type of business credit. This gives you an extra outlet, and that's what I'm doing now. So I can only speak to it because I'm actually working through it. So I think when you tell people what they need to do or what you feel like they need to do, you do have to have that backup to say, well, this is how you do it if you don't know how. And we don't always communicate that well. You know,
man, one of the ways to spin it, man, is like, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've accomplished. You know,
and this is how I get
this is my system. You know, you can do better or worse, I guess, right?
Exactly.
And not necessarily you have to do it this way, right? Yeah. But this is what worked for me, and this is the results of that. Mm-hmm. And for some people, it may not even be credit. It might be like, man, I got 3 kids. I don't have the time. You know,
true.
You know. How do you manage that? You know, what do you do with your child care? Blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
hit me to the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Hit me to the game.
Yeah, pretty
simple
much.
As that. Yeah, hit me to the game. And a lot of people, maybe, and I think we don't necessarily know how because we've always been in survival mode. So we don't know how to hit other people to the game because it seems like.
But we do though, right? We do because like when you said survival mode, right? Mm-hmm. Like things that we do in survival mode are taught. They have to be taught because otherwise you don't know how to survive, right? So yeah, we know how to do that.
Man.
We just never really had access to teach those type of things, right? Uh-huh. And now that we are starting to get that access, I think it's just the same thing. You know, now I think it switches from survival to prosperity, you know what I mean? Definitely. I'm not really in survival mode anymore. Like with some folks maybe, and I get that, right?
Yeah.
What I mean by that is overall and financially, you know, if you go back and look at it, and I got to be very careful with saying this. I think most black folks, and I would have to, you know, obviously go and look at numbers and do research and all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think most black folks are in a better position than they were 30 years ago, right?
Okay.
Some are not,
Some are
right?
not.
And some are doing worse or the same. I get that. But one thing we can't deny is we definitely are. Like we've never lived in an age where information is so readily available to everybody, right?
Yeah, never.
Like at your fingertips, and that's why I get annoyed with some people when they're like, "Oh, what is this?" Like, go find it. Like the way I did, like. And I know we just talk about putting people on and stuff, and
you gotta show some initiative.
That's one of the things I'm talking about. Like I can show you, I can walk you through this, and I can show you what I did and how it worked and whatnot, but you got to put in some work too. I'm just not going to give you a solution. You have to find a solution. I can help you out, navigate the problem, but the solution is ultimately up to you.
Yeah. And you got to have that initiative only because what happens then is that you give it. And I don't want to say giving away too much of the game. I want to say doing too much for a person, because if you do too much, then they become reliant on you. And that's the thing that you don't want to do, because I think essentially we've become reliant on a lot of mechanisms. One of those obviously being the government, and just like being reliant on something is a bad feeling. And look, I'm gonna equate this to something else that ain't got nothing to do with this, but just being reliant on something. So anybody who's ever seen me on any other show or on social media, I talk about this shit. I do have a sleep disorder, so I have sleep apnea, and I am reliant upon a CPAP machine. And I have to be honest, just like with the CPAP machine and just like with anything in life, it sucks to be reliant on something. It does. Like I can't lie. It sucks to have to have something in order to live. Like, I mean, that's basically what it is, right? So that's just like anything else in life. You hate to have to be reliant on something. I think that what happens a lot of times is when you take people, when you show people how to do things, and then they don't have the initiative, you end up doing everything for them. So now at this point, you've made it better for that person, but now that person can't prosper without you. Like, so that's kind of pointless. Because now, like, I brought you along, I showed you how to do it, but you never really took the initiative to learn yourself. So either you go fail if I stop doing the shit for you, or it's gonna stop at him. So that means that if I'm giving him all this game, he don't really have the initiative. I'm doing everything for him. That means when I'm gone, he don't get to pass it on, because he never learned how to actually do this shit. You know what I'm saying?
And so we've been talking about capitalism and business a lot.
Yeah,
and that's
we did get on that.
And that's simply the opportunity cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get discouraged if you do help someone out and they totally just blow you off and don't do anything with it.
Do anything.
Right? Like, okay, that person, just has decided not to move along with that.
Yeah.
Okay. My request to black folks is don't let that discourage you from helping another black person, right?
Oh,
your criteria can be
happens.
a lot more strict or whatnot, and as opposed to who you help and who you don't help.
Yeah.
But don't let it just totally just dissuade you from reaching out to another black person.
I think that's what happens a lot of times. We talked about in another episode. We was talking about like black people who move up in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happened. They tried to help too many people who didn't have the initiative. And they got burnt out, and they forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's bold for that next person who does have that ambition or that initiative, and now they looking at you like sell out. You know what I'm saying? But not even knowing those experiences that you done got burnt so many times, you're just like, man, forget it. Like, I'm trying to help and they just ain't receptive, so I'm straight. And then the person that really need it don't get it because you burnt out. And that's a tough position too. And I think that's a part of our success in the black community. Just and this kind of equates to what we're talking about. And it's just like you spend so much time, like, because we always preaching unity, we always talking about getting our community on the right track. So you try to do everything that's going to make that happen. And sometimes you play yourself by helping the people that don't need to get help because they black. And like then you get tired of getting burnt. But it's like, unfortunately, you're in a position where, like you just said, like, I don't know how to really say this any other way, but you can't get tired. You can't get tired. Because, like, the moment you quit, that was the one that was going to make the spark. And you quit. You know what I'm saying? Before you gave him the game. So it's like, or her the game. I'm sorry, I don't want to keep saying him. I don't want to be sexist and shit. But yeah, like, I think that happens to us a lot because, again, we have been in survival mode for so long. And then you get to a point where you're able to to pass something along and nobody's receptive, at some point though, your spirit does get defeated. It's just like, bruh, I'm trying to give it to y'all. Y'all ain't taking it, like, man, forget it. And then you end up giving up right before Malcolm X. You end up giving up right before Martin. You know what I'm saying? Whoever your heroes are, you know what I'm saying? Like, you end up giving up right before that person, and it's just it's rough because you want to quit. Because a lot of times I have to be honest, especially coming up in, like, you know, where we came from. It's like, due to circumstance or whatever it is, you deal with a lot of knuckleheads. A lot of people who, like, you trying to get in the game on stuff and they just not receptive. And, like, at some point you do get tired. But I guess we can't get tired. But that sucks though. Like you got an extra responsibility. you have an extra responsibility as soon as you come out black. You got an extra responsibility.
You know, that's a responsibility I don't necessarily mind though, right? Yeah. It is disappointing when you put your effort and energy into someone and they don't really pan out to what you want them to be, and that could be the problem too, to what you want them to be, you know. And
speak on that shit,
so
bro.
So that's why communication, man, is very key, right? So I liken it back to work, you know, with my direct reports. Like I almost over communicate some things, like, you know, like all my expectations and what, you know, this is, you know, what I expect, and so like expectations and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, because you start thinking that you start equating your own expectations, and sometimes that's not gonna be a good thing.
Yeah, you know, you might be senior VP or whatever, and you know, whoever, whether it's Jamal or
Devontae, whatever,
Devontae or Keisha, whoever it is, right? Like, they may not aspire to be senior vice president. Right. So they may want to be something else, and that's cool, right? Yeah. Again, I don't have the magic recipe or the secret ingredient or anything like that, but it's just I make sure that comes out when I talk to my folks. Like, what do you want to do? You know, what's your goals? You know, what do you want your next role to be? Those type of things, right?
And you know what? That question, though, I think is, and I don't want to get too far into this, but I think that question, a lot of times, isn't really taken to heart. I've heard that in a lot of, like, reviews and stuff like that, and where they ask you, like, you know, what it is that you really want to do. And I don't think that enough people take that seriously, though.
No.
Like, they never really
They think it's a bad thing if they say something else outside of what they're currently doing,
exactly,
right?
Dog. Exactly.
And when I try to explain to my folks, like, yeah, you were hired in as whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I look at my team as more as like talent management, though, right? You know what I mean? So, yeah, you may be good in this role, but you may be great in another role. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, when those questions come up, I mean, obviously you have to know your environment and know the culture of the company or organization or whatever, but figure out how you can phrase it or say it, you know, in a safe manner, I guess, if you're worried about, you know, being labeled at your job, whatever it is, about what you want to do, you know. And if y'all can't really figure out a plan or a roadmap, maybe, you know, some changes need to be made. You know, maybe you need to look somewhere else or whatever. I don't know. But
I think that at the end of the day, this is something that Charlemagne always says, and shout out to Charlemagne, because at the end of the day, or at the beginning, I didn't really like Charlemagne. I can't lie. But like as I start listening to him more often, like I really do, and I read a couple of books or whatever, I see his point of view. And it's one thing that he said that he always says, it's just about living your truth. And I think that term is probably overused, but I think it's the reality. So living your truth means whatever that is at that moment or what you see it as in the future. So, and I just want to dig back onto about that, because I've had reviews like recently in my latter years in corporate America. You know, once I got older, I understood what was really going on, and I've got asked that question, like, what it is you really want to do. And I started having real life conversations in there about, you know, about our podcast and about my writing and about my communication skills. I started having real life conversations, and I felt comfortable in the space to say these things, even though it didn't have nothing to do with the job. You asked, so now I'm telling. And I think that once you get to that point, and this is a whole other subject, which is something I wanted to talk about last week after we watched Dave Chappelle. But like you get to a point of quote unquote freedom, where you get to really express what's on your mind and what you're feeling at the time, or what your aspirations are, without that fear of losing the position you in. And to me, like, that's freedom. A lot of people in their jobs right now, or even careers, I won't even say jobs, like in their careers, are afraid to really speak up into what they really want to do because they're afraid of losing something that's guaranteed by that job. And I think when you get to the point where that fear doesn't scare you, then I think that's like some freedom. And I think that question, and this is the thing, I think that question, corporate America and like people in corporate, I don't know if they, I want to hope that they really mean it. Like, because like when you in those peer reviews or whatever, or those reviews from your superiors, they always tell you like what we talking about here doesn't affect your job, this, that, and the third. Like, we just really want to know more about you. I hope they're sincere with that. And I hope that people start like holding them accountable for that. So like, you asked me this, I should be able to tell you this, and I'm hoping that it's not going to affect my career here. And
that's why I say I think people got to really be cognizant of their organization and their culture.
Right. Because the organization might just not be on that shit.
Somebody might ask you that, but they really don't want the answer.
Exactly, right.
They're required to ask you that, maybe.
Exactly.
So like, you got to really know that. You just have to know, like.
Well, real quick, just not like I say, not to stick on this subject. I'm gonna ask you this, then we gonna move on and get out of here because we've been on for like 9 hours. But like, just ask you that, like, being in a corporate setting though, like, how often have you been in a setting where either you were the superior or your superior, and that question was asked, and like, have you been in any situation in that corporate setting where you really felt like they were just asking because they had to?
Yeah, definitely. And I hate to say this, but probably about half the time,
Damn, really?
Yeah, it's because, I've been asked that question before, and, I think early in my career, I gave the canned answer. Like, I'm in a position I want right now. I just want to learn how to do this position, blah, 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 blah. As I got older, and I realized, like, that ultimately self-defeating. Yeah. Like, again,
if you're really trying to better yourself.
Right. Again, you have to know your organization and know the culture of your organization. But yeah, I've got to points where, like, this is what I want to do. And I had a couple, of my managers that kept it real with me. Like, I don't know if that's really possible, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But okay, at least I respect that. Yeah. Then I had some that be like, oh, yeah. And then you never hear about it again, right?
They were just going through
just going through the motions, checking the boxes and stuff.
Exactly.
It can be self-defeating. It's one of those things, man.
One last question, though. Then we go get out of here. But just on that aspect, though, when you in one of those reviews, I think we talked about this before, about black people being in certain positions. Like, do you expect them to move away from that norm? Do you expect them not to be box checkers? Like, because if they're a black person, like your immediate, report or something like that, like, do you expect them to, like, do you feel more comfortable relaying that information in expectation that they really go follow through with it because they black? This kind of getting back on the same subject about, like, kind of your expectations of other black people, or like even giving them a pass. Like, do you expect them to be the ones to, like, kind of get that emotion just because they black?
I mean, intrinsically, yeah, I think we all do, because, you see someone who looks like you want them to succeed, right?
Mm-hmm.
The truth is this, right? And this might sound kind of messed up, but at first I don't have any expectation, right? And I say that because, we're having our first discussion, maybe for second, whatever it is. I want to give you some action items first, and I want to see how you follow through on those action items, right? Then I kind of can temper my expectation, right? You know what I mean? Like, okay, he really gonna go above and beyond, or she's really gonna go above and beyond, or they may not, or whatever.
Okay, so basically not coming in with no expectation at first.
So always, so we have this thing on my team that we call seek to understand, right? So when someone tells me, reason why they did something, whether I agree or not, I try to seek to understand, right? So we have that conversation, right? And then ultimately, like, sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not, But I think that all helps lead to those expectations, right? It's just, whether you black or not, I'm not, unless you, like, related to me or something like that, whatever, like I'm not really going to have any expectations for you because you haven't shown me anything yet.
Right.
Like I don't know what you're capable of.
Gotcha.
Now, if that's someone that I've kind of had a relationship with and maybe I've been working for this person for a while, yeah, I think there is a certain level of expectations what I have. Then what my duty is to do is communicate that to that person. Like this is the roadmap I see for you. You know what I mean? This is what I see you at.
Due to what I already know about you.
Now, do you see the same thing? What do you see differently? Let's talk about that, right? Because this is how you develop a plan, because ultimately that person is going to have to commit to it. And no one's going to commit to something that was made just for them, but they don't really believe in it, you know what I mean? Now, if something like they came up with, they crafted, then they had that belief in it.
So you expect that?
Yeah, so I expect. And then you have the situations where even though they did make it, they crafted it or whatever, there's no follow-through, right?
Right.
So then, okay, I gave you a chance. If you're on my team, it's still my responsibility to try to develop you. Yeah. If I've reached a certain point where I've decided that, hey, I can't develop you anymore. Right. Like that's a tough, difficult conversation we need to have, right?
Right, we gotta have.
I'm gonna have to put you on a plan, and this is why. You know what I mean? Exactly. But it should never be it should never be a surprise, right? We should all our discussions, should include these things up to that point. Yeah. So I think when go back to the point where we were talking about, black folks should be doing this and they should be doing that, whatnot, and some of them is just they haven't had that conversation. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to move, and it's just not like.
So your expectations set up, even though you didn't know that person's not really capable.
And some people, like you said, some people don't have not the education. I'm gonna say some people don't have the knowledge, right? Yeah. And that's a whole nother ball game, man, because knowledge is a powerful thing, man. When someone knows how to move and navigate those roads and those turns and twists and whatnot, that gives you a little added amount of confidence, And you typically, when you're confident, you typically perform better. You know what I mean?
True.
When you're not confident, that's when you
perform like you're not confident.
Exactly.
I mean, that even equates to sports.
Yeah.
And just thinking about that though, like for real, just looking at. That whole expectation thing, I think that's not just a business thing. That's relationship wise. That's everything. On a personal level, expectations is a powerful thing.
Right.
And I think what you said is truth. Like if you come into any situation, like any foreign situation, and what I mean by foreign is basically anything that you don't have a previous relationship with, and you come in with expectations. It's always that opportunity to get your feelings hurt. Yeah. Like expectations will not be met. Because you didn't set these expectations up with no prior experience.
Right. Yeah.
So, how do you do that? So, I think that's a whole other thing. And that might just, go ahead and close all this out. That might be kind of where we at with other black people. Like, we give people a pass with no previous experience of them on the basis of them being black. And unfortunately, and this is a tough conversation, with people not performing. It is a tough conversation that you gotta have, and unfortunately, it has to be, and I will say it needs to be received in a manner, as long as it's not coming from a place of malice.
I got one more story to tell, and we're gonna wrap it up, right? So, I think it's pretty interesting about kind of what you said, even in sports and whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. I think about one situation when I was coaching college ball, and I had this kid, good football player, but he wasn't a starter. Mm-hmm. Thought he should be a starter, and he had one of those dads that thought he should be starting soon, right? And, yeah. So
not those dads.
First of all, this kid is in college. This isn't high school or whatever. This is college, right? This ain't pal. Yeah, he should be taking care of his own business, but. Anyway, that's besides the point. Whole other story, right? So, got to a point where this player approached me. He's like, "Coach, I should be starting. I'm better than the guy in front of me." I was like, "Oh, okay. Let's sit down. Let's talk about it. Tell me why you think you should be starting and whatnot." And they went down their little, list of reasons or whatever. And I was like, "Well." Ultimately, we can just look at the tape, because the eye in the sky don't lie, right?
Eye in the sky don't lie, bro.
Don't lie.
Don't lie, bro.
So we sat there for the next 2 hours, and we looked at game tape. Obviously, this person, he was playing a little bit, but he wasn't starting. He's probably getting anywhere 15 to 20 snaps a game, right? Okay. Which is a significant amount. You can get some production out of 15 to 20 snaps,
especially on defense.
Yeah, and Not to mention the guy ahead of him was the defensive player of the conference. You know,
tough.
so yeah, you know what I mean.
Tough, yeah.
So
That's tough.
yeah, so like I said, not to say this gentleman wasn't good, but like I sat down, we looked at tape. You know, we just kept it real objective, like real man to man or whatnot, and it's just like, this is why you're not starting. You know, and like he wasn't happy with it, but like he understood at that point. You know. And he was like,
so
okay,
at that point, you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
So what do you do to get to
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and obviously, you know, he didn't get the starting spot because, you know, the guy ahead of him was a motherfucking just baller. You know what I mean? Yeah, monster. He had NFL scouts come to look at him and stuff, you know, so yeah. But, and I'm not saying that just to bash that player of his father, but like, so many things get skewed and out of place just because, again, we get back to that expectation thing, right? It's just, and I guess with him, I was impressed with him from this. Like when he finally got that place at the table to sit down and talk to me about why, he was ready.
He was ready.
Yeah, he was ready. You know what I mean? But again, the eye in the sky don't lie. So you know, we went back to the tape, but he was ready.
You got to salute that though.
Yeah, most definitely.
And see that, and that's the person I'm talking about. That's the person with the initiative.
Yeah.
Like you can have those expectations then, because like at the end of the day, like he wanted to start. He had his reason to why he thought he seen your reasoning, and y'all came to a medium to. So then at that point, he had to decide what he needed to do to get the edge.
And ultimately, he stayed and finished out his career.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't become a starter, but you know, he played, had a decent career. You know, whatever.
Exactly. And that's. I think those are the conversations, sports-wise, business-wise, everything, just even relational. I think those are conversations that need to be had because a lot of people have their expectations, and then it's your expectation, and then it's the reality. You know what I'm saying? Like it's those three things.
And
My
coaching,
expectation,
and, you know, in coaching is a little bit more authoritarian, right? You know, I said this, so you know, it's changing. You know, it's not so much like that anymore, but like it definitely was that, right? I said this, so that's what it is, which is not always the right route to go either. You know.
Right. Hell no. That's interesting as hell though. And what's funny though is that like, and I don't want to. Well, yeah, I do want to put all three of these together. Because that's just the way the world. Sports work kind of the same way. Business work kind of the same way. Illegal criminal organizations work. Like all of this shit kind of it's all organizational. Like either whether you're looking at sports.
That's why a good leader is a good leader no matter what organization.
No matter what it is
you
that
know,
you
if
lead.
you're a good leader, you're a good leader. You
if
know,
you lead
legal or illegal. You know what I mean? Yeah.
A team or a business, leadership is leadership, and that organization is organization. And I think that when you get to a point where you understand that, and you're able to bring your expectations to the table, the expectations of the person that relationship is with, like I said, whether that's sports, business, or otherwise. Once you bring both of those expectations together, and then the eye in the sky don't lie. Once you bring in that third like reality, at that point you got to mix all those together and then come up with an action plan. Because at the end of the day, your expectations might be wrong, or the person that you in a partnership might be wrong. But then once you mix that in with reality, then we all see what's really going on, and then you got to make a decision at that point. Like, am I going to do what I need to do to get in this position, or am I just going to keep crying about it? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one way or the other.
Or if I'm happy where I'm at and I'm just cool, you know, whatever.
And that's fine.
Yeah, and that's cool.
And dog, that's one thing, and I swear we're getting ready to get out of here now. But that's one thing, though, that I think a lot of people, again, is your perception of success. Because a lot of things that you do, it may not be successful in somebody else's eyes, but like if that's your interpretation of success, then by all means, ride that shit out. No matter what somebody talking about, like you might have a person who, let's just say, I think we was talking about cleaning companies earlier, about entrepreneurship, right? So what if you got the person who comes to work every day and is the cleaner, but he's not the person who operates the cleaners? Maybe he don't want to be in control of a lot of people. He's content with being the best cleaner that you got, and that's fine, dog. Like
the world needs cleaners, man. You know,
bro. I think people, and I think we finding that out now. like some of these jobs that people swear they didn't want, they the only ones working. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to start really interpreting like what you define as success, and not like blurring your interpretation because of what other people think. And I think in social media, man, and the internet has made that a little worse because you start equating everything that you desire off of everybody else's desire. And social media has made that worse. I can't lie. But like as black people, though, I think that we got to encourage all. I think we have a what's the word I'm looking for? like we have to. It's essential that we hold a different, and I know we probably shouldn't, but we have to hold like our people accountable more than, because nobody else is going to hold us accountable like we hold ourselves accountable. But at the same time, we can't like diss people for what their idea of success is, though. So like we said earlier, you saying that, because I know I've said it before, but like you should use this extra money to do X, Y, and Z. If that's not their path, then that's fine. Like, that's fine. But I am going to tell you, like, this is what I would do. I think that you said that before. Like, this is how I would handle things. I think if you start approaching people with that, maybe they'll feel less attacked, and then they'll figure out their own lane. Mm-hmm. But I think with us, especially with black people, we love telling people what to do. Though. We do. Because, like, again, I said this earlier, I think we have a sense of urgency. It's like we really got to get to the point, like, hurry up, do this, do that. But at the end of the day, we looking from our own perspective. Everybody's perspective is not the same. So we got to be able to just deal with whatever it is that person wants. Like, so, for instance, if this is us, and I'm saying, like, well, I feel like everybody should write books. And you like, nigga, I read books, but I ain't trying to write no book. So, like, how I'm going to downplay your shit because you don't want to write? Like, that don't make sense. But I think we get to a point where we always we try so hard to get our voices heard that I think that we sometimes just forget about everybody else. Like, because we're trying to get our point across, which gets us back to that same conversation we were having before, when people have discussions not to educate each other, but just to prove that they right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we never gonna get past that. But all right, dog, we done talked enough today, man, because it's like a 2-hour show. So we gonna end it on that, man. We ain't gonna talk no further. But we are going to kind of get into a conversation that we kind of touched on in this one, and that was about what happened in Michigan. I don't know if it happened in other places, but I know it happened at our state capitol, where it was a bunch of armed white people. You know what I'm saying? Inside the Capitol, actually.
Inside the Capitol building, yeah.
And we're just looking at the narrative of how that's so much different from when the Black Panthers did it, you know, back in the 60s and 60s rather. But or 70s rather, in the early 70s. But about how they did it then, and just how that narrative was completely different. We go touch it. We touched on that a little bit today, but we go get into it next week. I think that's what we go essentially talk about, and that's just gonna be the perception of like the things that we do that are so similar to what our counterparts do, but our narrative is completely different. So that's what we're gonna talk about next week, though. We're gonna talk about changing the narrative, right? So let's make sure you tune in for that. We haven't decided exactly what liquor we're gonna use next week. But that is going to be the topic, though. Changing the narrative for black people. That's what we're going to talk about next week. But just to recap it and go out on today's note, speaking on the Crown Royal, it's good. Like, and I ain't going to lie, even though it's 40%, for some reason, it's very effective. I think that's why the show is 2 hours today. But it's very effective. It's very smooth. It's not a bold taste. So it's like, as far as taste goes, I would actually suggest the Crown Royal Black as far as taste goes. If you wanted to have it for a personal collection, I would probably say that. Like, you whip it out every now and then because it's a beautiful bottle. Like, it's very well crafted. And it's XR, which means it's extra rare, which means it's not readily available all the time. So, like, to have it in your collection, I think is dope. An everyday sipper or like the kind of thing that you drink often, I probably wouldn't suggest it. But Bo, what you say, bro?
It's okay. I don't think it's worth $120, $130 price point.
Not at all.
You know, some people collect liquor and whatnot. And like, yeah, if you want it for your collection, okay, that's cool. But like, if you're really worried about taste and that type of stuff, as far as whiskey goes, like, I definitely buy a bottle of, Uncle Nearest, before
right.
I bought a $120 bottle of XR. And not to say that's bad. It's okay.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Taste is good. It's not too bold. It's got a heavy, like, oaky, kind of vanilla taste, or a vanilla at the nose, really, kind of an oaky finish, really. But it's okay.
Right, okay.
If I had to give it a grade, it'd be like that solid B minus, C plus.
I was gonna say the C. That boy average. That boy average. Yo, on that note, man, we gonna finish sipping on this average Crown Royal XR, man. Know this, man. I'm just saying, like in real life.
I'd much rather buy the regular 26 bottle of Crown than that.
Yes.
How about that?
Honestly, yeah, for sure. I would definitely go with the regular Crown, or like for me, I like the Crown Royal Black. But yeah, so definitely, if you haven't tried it, I do suggest, like if you collect whiskeys, if you collect bourbons, then I think this is a nice one to have in your collection just to kind of have it. But like as far as taste-wise and like really just sitting down having a drink, not so much. So this is like an occasion type of drink, I believe. Yeah. But on that note, man, we chopped it up for like a long time this time, so I hope y'all enjoyed it.
You got a lot of editing to do.
Yeah, I got a lot of editing to do. But I hope y'all enjoyed it. Don't forget, man, when you log on to eblockradio.com that you hit that subscribe button so that you get a notification every time we go live, man. And make sure that you do tune in next week and every week at Wednesday at 7 p.m. as we will be streaming these live every Wednesday. And don't forget, man, if you got some ideas on any kind of whiskey or bourbon that we need to explore, make sure that you do comment below, all right, and comment, and we will read those comments as well as take some of those suggestions. So make sure you hit us up. And again, shout out to the Black Bourbon Society too, who actually plays our YouTube videos on their Facebook page. So shout out to y'all and all the members. And I'm proud to be a member. But on the way out, any last minute words, Bo?
Yeah, definitely shout out to Black Bourbon Society. I know we may be a little more rough around the edges than some of y'all, but you know, just two normal dudes up here talking about some bourbon and some whiskey.
For sure.
Just a couple last words, man. Just have those conversations and just pass it forward and just pay it forward. You never know when, you know, it might be a very little thing to you and a huge thing to somebody else. You know, you never know. Just take 5-10 minutes, you know, out of your day or whatnot, and send somebody a note, or just check in on somebody, or give them some tips or whatever it is. You know, little gestures go a long way.
Yeah, I think we said that earlier. Just give them some game, though. I think that's very important at this day and age. Like you said, no matter how little you think it is, it could be big game for somebody else. So definitely need to share that.
Yeah.
For sure, man. All right, so look, I enjoy everybody checking this out, man. Again, make sure that you do subscribe, and we will be back next week. But till then, you already know what it is, man. Beers, bourbon, whiskey. Everybody loves BBW. My man Bo in the building.
Shout out to Bro Brothers.
For sure, man. And it's your boy Q Lewis holding it down live from the 48205, man. Peace out, y'all. You got anything in your glass?
I got a little bit.
Peace out.